The palace of Ziara had changed dramatically over the past weeks. Once the halls were cold and the gardens wilted. Now there was movement, laughter, and the faint scent of earth foods blending with alien spices. The royal kitchens were no longer just symbols of ceremony, they were places of life, where the scent of warm bread nourishing stews, and sweet fruits filled the air. Princess Sailora walked through the kitchens that morning, her hands moving expertly as she measured grains and stirred steaming pots. Daniel stood beside her, patiently instructing her on subtle adjustments, how a pinch of salt could bring out flavor, how roasting a root properly could preserve nutrients, how timing could transform a simple dish into a meal that could sustain life. The princess smiled as she worked, feeling strong, capable, and alive for the first time in many months. Outside, people of Ziara gathered in small groups near the palace. The famine had not ended entirely, but their strength had returned. Thanks to Daniel's guidance and Salira's determination, mothers fed their children nourishing meals, farmers learned to mix alien crops with earth techniques, and the palace staff grew healthier by the day. The whispers that had once spread like poison were now met with disbelief. The results could not be ignored, yet the nobles who had opposed Daniel did not give up easily. They had failed to prevent the princess from learning from him, but they still hoped to turn the king against the human soldier. They plotted in secret, preparing to accuse Daniel of using forbidden techniques, of undermining tradition, of corrupting the royal bloodline. Their plans were careful and precise, meant to strike at the king's patience and loyalty to his daughter. The tension in the palace grew as the king summoned Daniel to the throne room. The human soldier's heart pounded as he approached, bowing low before the golden-eyed monarch. The king's gaze was sharp, unyielding, and Daniel could sense the weight of judgment pressing upon him. Daniel, the king said, his voice calm but cold, "You have taught my daughter, you've nourished my people, and you have changed the palace kitchens. Many see this as an insult to our traditions. How do you defend your actions?" Daniel met the king's eyes steadily.
"Your Majesty,"
he said softly, "I only sought to save lives. I have studied your foods, your crops, and your methods. I have combined what I know from Earth with what is here to create meals that restore strength. I did not act to dishonor tradition, but to give life to your people and health to your daughter. The proof is in the results. Look at your people, they are stronger, your palace staff more energetic, your princess herself revitalized." King's gaze shifted, sweeping over the palace gardens visible through the high windows. The fields near the palace were greener than they had been in months, small groups of people working together to cultivate new crops, their bodies no longer weakened by hunger. He saw the princess walking among them, her hair glowing in the sun, her smile bright. Slowly, he turned his gaze back to Daniel. "You speak boldly for a human," the king said. "Yet your words carry truth. You have saved lives. You have given my daughter strength. And you have done so without seeking reward, without demanding honor, without fear." Daniel bowed again, his chest tight with emotion. "I seek only to serve your majesty." The king's eyes softened, and for the first time, a small smile appeared on his face. "Then you shall continue. Your place here is earned, not by birth, but by courage, skill, and wisdom. Let none say otherwise." Relief flooded Daniel's chest as the weight of suspicion, of noble plots, and of his own fears lifted. He had been accepted not by tradition, but by merit and, most importantly, by the princess, who had believed in him even when others doubted. Salira approached quietly, her eyes shining with pride and gratitude. She reached for Daniel's hand, holding it gently. "Father," she said softly, "this is the man who restored my strength, who saved our people from hunger. I trust him. I will continue to trust him." The king studied his daughter, seeing the determination in her eyes. He saw not only her beauty, but her wisdom, her courage, and her ability to recognize value beyond the strictures of tradition. He nodded slowly. "So be it. Let your actions speak louder than words, Salira, as they have always done. And Daniel, you shall continue to serve, here in the palace and among the people, as you see fit." Daniel's heart soared, but he did not speak. Words felt small compared to the reality of the moment. Instead, he simply bowed, and Salira squeezed his hand, a silent affirmation that their bond was stronger than ever. Over the next weeks, Daniel and Salira worked together more openly. They prepared meals for hundreds of people at once, combining alien crops with earth techniques. Farmers were taught new methods for soil enrichment, crop rotation, and proper storage. Children were given meals that strengthened their bodies, and the palace staff learned to cook in ways that balanced nutrition and taste. The kingdom slowly transformed, not only in body but in spirit. People moved with purpose, laughed with genuine joy, and felt hope returning to their hearts. Even the nobles who had plotted against Daniel began to change their tune. Some still muttered in secret, but many saw the undeniable results. Their people healthier, the princess stronger, and the palace more vibrant than it had been in years. They could no longer deny the value of what the human soldier had brought. Some grudgingly admitted it aloud, while others stayed silent, realizing that opposition was pointless in the face of such success. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the palace, Daniel and Salira walked together through the restored gardens. Flowers glowed faintly under the moonlight, streams ran clear and bright, and the scent of baking bread from the kitchens mingled with the sweet alien aromas. Salira turned to him, her eyes reflecting the moonlight. "Daniel, when I first met you, I never imagined this," she said softly. "I was weak, starving, and afraid. You brought me strength, hope, and joy. You showed me that life can be simple and yet powerful. You changed everything." Daniel shook his head. "I only showed you what humans know. You did the hard work, princess. You believed, you acted, you taught others. Without you, none of this would have happened." She smiled, reaching for his hand. "Then we did it together." From that moment, their bond was undeniable. They worked side by side, not only as teacher and student, but as partners in purpose. Their laughter echoed in the kitchens, their ideas shaped the palace gardens, and their shared meals became a symbol of unity between human and alien, between tradition and innovation. The king observed them quietly. He saw the princess walking, with a confidence he had not seen in months, her eyes bright, her smile radiant. He saw the human soldier beside her, not as a servant or an outsider, but as an ally, a friend, and someone who had earned trust and respect. Slowly, he nodded. Perhaps there was wisdom in looking beyond old prejudices, beyond rank and birth. Perhaps strength came not only from blood, but from courage, knowledge, and heart. In the weeks that followed, Daniel was given a small command. Within the palace, not as a noble, but as someone trusted with the well-being of the people, he trained others in his methods, sharing earth techniques that improved farming, food preparation, and nutrition. The kingdom's harvests improved steadily, the people's strength returned fully. The threat of famine became a memory of the past. Princess Salira stood beside him in every step. Together, they oversaw the preparation of meals, the restoration of fields, and the training of workers. Their partnership was admired by many, respected even by nobles who had once opposed them. And in private moments, they shared quiet meals, tasting new flavors, laughing over small mistakes, and planning ways to make life better for all their people. One evening, as the palace rested under the gentle glow of the moons, Daniel and Salira sat together in the garden, sharing a simple earth bread he had baked. They leaned back against the soft grass, watching the stars glimmer in the night sky. "I never imagined I would find so much joy in something as simple as food," Salira whispered. "And I never imagined I would meet someone who could change everything for me." Daniel took her hand gently. "And I never imagined I would find a place where I could make a difference, or someone who would trust me completely." She turned her eyes toward him, the glow of the moons reflecting in her silver hair. "Then we have both found what we were searching for. The kingdom of Ziara, once shadowed by hunger and fear, now thrived. Now people walked with strength, children played with laughter, and the palace echoed with joy. The princess's beauty was restored, not only in appearance, but in spirit. and at her side stood a human soldier, once an outsider, now a hero, a teacher, a friend, perhaps something even more profound. Together they had faced famine, suspicion, and doubt. Together they had brought life back to the kingdom, taught the value of courage and knowledge, and shown that strength comes in many forms. And together they had found something rare and precious: trust, respect, and the quiet beginnings of love that transcended worlds. The stars above seemed to shine brighter that night, as if the galaxy itself recognized the bond formed between a human and an alien princess, a bond born of kindness, courage, and the simple act of sharing food. In the quiet of the palace gardens, under the twin moons of Ziara, Daniel and Saliara smiled at each other, knowing that their journey had only just begun, but that together they could F. Ethan had been a soldier for only 3 years, but life in space made time feel longer. He had seen battles on ruined stations, long patrols across silent asteroid fields, and tense negotiations with alien envoys, yet nothing compared to this mission. He had been chosen, almost by accident, to stand among the soldiers who would attend the great peace ceremony between humans and the Thalorian Empire. The Thalorians were tall, elegant, and powerful rulers of many systems. Their princess was said to be untouchable, the pride of her people. When Ethan's transport ship touched down on the shining platform of the alien capital, he felt the weight of history. Thousands had gathered to witness the meeting of two civilizations that had fought for decades. Banners of silver and violet waved in the alien air. The alien palace towered above, carved with glowing symbols that seemed alive. Ethan kept his posture firm, rifle slung but powered down. He was only one soldier among many, hardly worth notice. Yet, as the humans were guided into the vast ceremonial hall, his eyes were drawn to the figure who sat upon the raised throne of crystal light, Princess Liara. She was nothing like he had imagined. Stories told of her cold beauty, of her voice that silenced generals, of her pride that made even kings bow. But when Ethan saw her, he saw someone younger than he expected. Her features sharp and graceful, her eyes like twin suns bright gold, watching everything with a mixture of authority and hidden weariness. She did not look at him. Why would she? She was heir to an empire. He was a soldier in a plain black uniform. The ceremony began. Words of peace were spoken by leaders, promises of alliance exchanged. Ethan stood still, a background figure in the sea of faces, but in his chest, something stirred. For all the formality, for all the careful speeches, he felt the tension. Both sides still feared each other. The air was fragile, as if one wrong move could shatter everything, and then it happened. The hall doors burst open with a sound like thunder. Figures in dark armor stormed inside, weapons blazing. They were not human, nor Thalorian, raiders, mercenaries from the outer fringes. Their goal was clear: chaos. Screams filled the chamber. Guards moved, but the attackers were fast. A blast struck near the throne. Ethan's instincts took over. He leaped forward, rifle raised, firing controlled bursts. A raider fell, then another. He saw movement at the corner of his vision. Princess Liara, standing. Her guards cut down around her. A raider aimed at her. Ethan didn't think. Sprinted across the hall, faster than reason, faster than fear. He threw himself in front of her just as the blast fired. The energy bolt struck his armor, searing his side, but he held firm. He turned, fired back, and dropped the attacker. Liara stared at him, shocked. For a moment, the golden eyes of an alien princess locked with the dark eyes of a human soldier. "Stay down," Ethan shouted, his voice rough. No one had ever shouted at her like that. But she obeyed. The battle raged, but with humans and Thalorians fighting side by side, the raiders were soon defeated. Smoke lingered in the grand hall. Broken banners lay on the floor. Ethan knelt, pain burning in his ribs, but still holding, his weapon steady. Princess Liara approached him. Her voice was calm, but edged with disbelief. You shielded me, a human." Ethan gave a small grin despite the pain. Seemed like a good idea at the time. Her guards rushed to her side, glaring at Ethan, but she raised her hand, silencing them. She looked at him as if seeing something strange and impossible. The ceremony was ruined, yet something unexpected had begun. The first time, the alien princess had looked at a human not with suspicion, not with disdain, but with genuine wonder. That night, the Council of the Lord debated in fury. How could raiders breach their walls? Who had betrayed them? And why had a human soldier stood closer to their princess than any alien guard? Ethan was summoned, questioned, tested, answered simply, with no attempt to impress. He had seen danger and acted. That was all. But Liara remembered the moment differently. She remembered his body between her and death. She remembered his eyes, steady even in pain. She remembered his voice that dared to command her. When the council decided that someone must guard the princess until the raider threat was ended, Liara expected a captain of her own army. Instead, the human commander spoke. "Send Ethan. He has already proven his loyalty." The room stirred with anger. Human guarding their princess. An insult, some said. But Liara, to her own surprise, did not object, and so it was decided. Next day, Ethan found himself standing outside the princess's chambers, his wound wrapped, but his posture straight. He felt out of place, a soldier of Earth in the heart of an alien empire. Yet when the doors opened and Liara stepped out, her gaze lingered on him longer than it should have. "You again," she said softly. "Yes, princess," Ethan replied. She studied him for a long moment. "Do not think saving me once makes you special. You are still human." Ethan didn't flinch. Understood, but something in her eyes betrayed curiosity. For the first time in her life, Princess Liara could not easily place someone into a simple box. This human was not like the stories. He was reckless, stubborn, and perhaps, just perhaps, worth noticing. And so their story began. With a soldier who should have remained invisible, a princess who could not forget the way he stood before her when fire filled the hall. Ethan stood tall, outside the chamber doors of the alien palace. His human armor, dull, compared to the shining plates of the Thalorian guards. He had been given the duty of guarding Princess Liara until the raider threat was dealt with. Many of the aliens around him disliked the idea. They whispered in their own language, throwing sharp looks whenever he passed. But Ethan did not care for their stares. He had lived his life as a soldier, and a soldier followed orders. His only focus was the mission. Protect the princess. Inside her chambers, Liara sat before a wide mirror of silver crystal. Servants adjusted her robes, weaving threads of light through the fabric, yet her thoughts were elsewhere. She could not forget the moment in the hall, the human soldier throwing himself in front of her. No alien had ever done that for her. Many had sworn loyalty. Many had promised protection. But their loyalty was bound by duty and bloodlines. This human had acted without hesitation, with no thought of reward. It unsettled her. It fascinated her. When she stepped out of her chambers, her golden eyes fell on him. He saluted briefly. His wound from the day before still made his movements stiff, but he did not complain. "You still stand, even with pain," Liara said. Ethan gave a short nod. "Pain fades. Orders don't." The princess tilted her head slightly, curious at his blunt words. She walked past him, and he followed, keeping a careful distance. The palace was alive with movement. Councils met, officers ran with reports, and alien guards scanned every corridor for signs of another attack. Ethan stayed silent, watching everything, his senses sharp. Liara noticed this. Unlike her own guards, who often moved stiffly in formation, the human's eyes never stopped searching. He walked as if the walls could turn hostile at any moment. That evening, she confronted him. "Human soldier," she said as they walked in the palace garden, where glowing trees spread their light across the night air. "Why did you save me?" "You could have died and you owe me nothing." Ethan paused, then looked at her. His face was calm, his voice steady. "Because it was the right thing to do. You were in danger. I had a chance to stop it, so I did." narrowed her eyes. That is too simple an answer. No one risks their life without reason. Ethan gave a small shrug. Maybe your people don't, but mine do. Those words lingered with her. She could not understand this kind of thinking, yet she could not dismiss it either. Days passed. Ethan shadowed her. Everywhere council meetings, training grounds, diplomatic visits at first. Liara was annoyed by his presence. She was used to guards who obeyed her every word, who kept their eyes down. Ethan was different. He did not worship her, did not flatter her, did not hesitate to speak when necessary. One morning, during a council session, an alien general raised his voice in anger, accusing another house of aiding the raiders. Tension filled the chamber. Liara sat silent, weighing her words carefully. Then Ethan spoke. Arguing won't stop another attack. You need proof, not blame. The room fell into shocked silence. A human soldier had interrupted their council. The general turned on him with fury. You dare speak human? Know your place? Ethan didn't flinch. My place is to protect the princess. If you waste time fighting each other, you make her an easier target. Liara hid her surprise. No one had ever defended her like this in council. Even her own people chose their words with layers of caution. Yet this human spoke with boldness, not caring for rank or custom. After the meeting, Liara walked beside him. You are reckless to speak in such a way, Ethan replied calmly. Sometimes the truth needs to be reckless. She studied him, her lips curving into the smallest smile. It was rare for anyone to make her smile. Their bond began to grow slowly, though neither would admit it. Liara started to test him, asking questions about humanity, about his past, about why humans fought the way they did. Ethan answered honestly, never hiding weakness. He spoke of Earth, of its wars and struggles, how short human lives were compared to Thalorians. You live less than a century, Liara said one night, her voice soft with curiosity. Yet you fight as if you want to shape eternity. Why? Eve looked at the stars above. Because we don't have much time. Every choice matters more when you know you won't see forever. That answer unsettled her again, but it also drew her closer. For all her life, she had been surrounded by beings who thought in centuries. Their plans stretched across ages. But here was a human who burned like fire, bright and short-lived, yet capable of changing everything around him. Their journey together was not without danger. One afternoon, as they moved through the lower city to meet with a group of alien scholars, a sudden blast rocked the street. The crowd scattered in terror as masked figures appeared on rooftops. Ethan grabbed Leora's arm, pulling her into cover behind a stone wall. Energy bolts scorched the air. Stay down. She ordered. She gave him a sharp look. You dare command? Me, yes, he said firmly, peeking out and firing back with his rifle. Unless you want to die. Her anger should have flared. Instead, her chest tightened with something she could not name. The fight was brutal. Ethan moved quickly. Using the narrow streets to his advantage, he pushed Liara to safety again and again, his own armor taking hits. At one point, when an attacker leapt from above with a blade of light, Ethan caught the strike with his forearm, his armor sizzling, and shot the raider point blank. When it was over, smoke rose from the ruined street. Civilians peeked out from hiding. The raiders fled, leaving behind broken weapons. Ethan leaned against the wall, blood seeping from his arm. Liara rushed to him, her pride forgotten for a moment. You are wounded, she said, her voice trembling more than she wished. He shook his head. Just a scratch. She reached for his arm, surprising even herself. Her hands glowed faintly, with alien healing energy, sealing part of the wound. He watched her silently, his eyes meeting hers. You should not risk yourself so easily, she whispered. Ethan smiled faintly. It's my job. No, she said, shaking her head. Ain't you? Act as if my life matters more than yours. Why? He looked at her, steady and calm. Because it does. You carry the future of your people. I'm just a soldier. Her breath caught. Something inside her rebelled against his words. She wanted to tell him he was wrong, but no words came. That night, alone in her chambers, Liara could not sleep. She remembered his eyes, his voice, his body shielding her again and again. She thought of the way he looked at her, not as a princess, not as a symbol, but as a person. No alien prince, no general, no noble had ever seen her like that. For the first time in her life, she felt a dangerous thought stirring in her heart. Perhaps humans were not so weak after all, and perhaps this one human, reckless and stubborn, was different from everyone else in the galaxy. The palace grew tense after the attack in the lower city. Guards doubled their watch. The council argued louder than before, and suspicion spread like a shadow across the empire. Princess Liara walked the crystal halls with her head high, but her thoughts were restless. She had seen the raiders' faces vanish into the darkness. But she also knew something worse. Such attacks were impossible without inside help. Someone close to the throne was betraying them. Ethan felt it too. Each day he shadowed her, watching not only the streets and corridors, but also the people who surrounded her. He noticed things others ignored. The way some council members avoided her gaze, the way certain guards shifted uneasily when orders were given. He had lived among soldiers long enough to recognize guilt. One evening, Liara and Ethan stood on the balcony overlooking the capital city. Towers of silver stretched toward the skies, glowing veins of energy pulsing between them. But the beauty could not hide the tension that weighed on the people. "They are afraid," Liara said softly, her golden eyes reflecting the city lights. "Not of the raiders, but of weakness in our empire. If they see us divided, they will lose faith." Ethan leaned against the railing, his side still sore from old wounds, but his voice steady. "Then don't show them weakness. Show them you're willing to fight, even if it means standing against your own council." She turned to him sharply. "Do you understand what you say? To question the council is to challenge centuries of tradition?" Ethan shrugged slightly. "Tradition won't stop a blaster shot. Decisions will." Lyra's lips pressed together. Once, she would have dismissed such blunt words. But now, she found herself listening more than arguing. The next day they traveled to a border outpost where one of the raider attacks had been launched. The council wanted proof of who aided the enemy. Liara insisted on going herself, against advice. Ethan accompanied her, his rifle always ready. The outpost was a ruined shell, burned walls, and shattered towers. The air smelled of smoke and ash. Liara walked through the wreckage with heavy steps, her robes brushing the ground. Ethan scanned the ruins, his eyes sharp. This wasn't just a raid, he muttered. They knew where to strike. They cut power here first, then hit the command center. That's insider knowledge. Liara nodded slowly, which means someone close to us fed them information. As they searched, they found strange marks carved into the walls, symbols from a rival house within the empire. Liara froze when she saw them. "It cannot be," she whispered. "House Vayner. They swore loyalty generations ago." Ethan crouched, touching the marks. "Looks like their oath didn't last." The discovery shook her. Betrayal from within her own people was worse than any attack from outside. She looked at Ethan, and for a moment her mask of strength cracked. "What am I to do, human?" asked softly. "If I accuse them without proof, the empire may split. If I stay silent, the raiders will bleed us until nothing remains." Ethan rose, meeting her eyes. "You don't need to choose silence or chaos. You need to choose trust. Find the ones who'll stand with you, even if it's just one person." Her chest tightened at his words. She thought of him, always at her side, taking wounds for her, speaking truth no one else dared. Slowly, she nodded. Their return to the palace was tense. Whispers spread of betrayal, of houses turning against the throne. Liara stood firm before Lara. The council, speaking with authority, but Ethan could see the weariness in her eyes. She was strong, but she was alone. One night, as Ethan walked her back to her chambers, she stopped suddenly in the corridor. "Ethan," she said quietly. It was the first time she had spoken his name without title or distance. He turned, surprised. "Yes, princess?" She looked at him, her voice low. "Why do you not fear me? All others lower their heads. They weigh every word but you. Speak to me as if I were anyone else. Ethan thought for a moment. Because you are anyone else. You're a person, same as me, just with heavier chains. Her breath caught at his words. Chains, that was exactly how it felt, though she had never admitted it, perhaps. She whispered, "You see me more clearly than my own people do." For the first time, silence between them felt alive, not empty. But danger was close. A few days later, betrayal struck openly. During a royal gathering, as Liara walked down the great hall, a guard at her side suddenly drew a hidden blade of energy, swinging toward her. Ethan reacted in an instant. He shoved her aside, the blade slashing across his armor instead. Sparks flew. Pain seared his shoulder, but he kept moving. Tackled the attacker, slamming him against the wall, knocking the weapon free. Guards rushed in, seizing the traitor. Gasps filled the hall as his identity was revealed, one of the elite guard commanders, sworn to Liara since her childhood. The council erupted in fury. Lyra's eyes were locked on Ethan. He stood, blood seeping from his wound, breathing hard but refusing to falter. "You again," she whispered. "Always in front of me when death comes." Ethan gave her a faint smile, "Just doing my job." But she knew it was more than that. That night, when he rested in the medical wing, Liara came to him. She dismissed the healers and stood by his bed, looking down at him. For a long time, she said nothing. Finally, her voice trembled with honesty she had never shown before. "Ethan, you are not just a soldier. You are more loyal than any noble, braver than any warrior I know. And yet, you see yourself as nothing." Ethan opened his eyes, tired, but steady. "I see myself as human. That's enough." Her heart twisted. She sat beside him, lowering her proud head. "You do not understand. No one has ever stood for me the way you do. Not my council, not my generals, not even my own blood. Only you." Ethan studied her, sensing the weight behind her words. For the first time, he reached out, his hand brushing hers. "You're not alone, Liara," he said softly. Her golden eyes widened at the sound of her name from his lips. No one dared speak it so simply, so gently. In that moment, something shifted between them. She was no longer just a princess, and he no longer just a guard. Something unspoken connected them, fragile yet powerful. But the danger was far from over. The captured traitor revealed under questioning that House Vayner was indeed supplying the raiders, plotting to overthrow the throne. The final strike was coming soon. Liara stood before her council, declaring her intent to confront the traitors directly. Many opposed her. Many feared civil war. But she stood firm, and when doubt filled the chamber, Ethan's voice rang out. Steady and strong, she will not stand alone. I'll fight at her side. The council erupted in protest. A human, standing with their princess? Unthinkable. But Liara silenced them with a single raised hand. Her gaze lingered on Ethan, her voice firm. "Then we will face this together." For the first time in her life, Princess Liara had chosen not the path of tradition, not the advice of the council, but the bond of trust she had found with one human soldier. And though she did not yet say it aloud, her heart already knew. He was no longer just her protector. He was something far more dangerous and far more precious. The palace trembled under tension. Word of House Vayner's betrayal spread quickly, igniting fear among the nobles and uncertainty among the people. Princess Liara moved with purpose, her golden eyes fixed ahead, yet the weight on her shoulders grew heavier with every passing hour. She could not allow the empire to fracture, but she could not ignore the traitors either. Ethan remained at her side. His armor bore the scars of previous attacks, and his shoulder still throbbed from the strike that could have killed him. Yet his eyes were sharp, scanning every corner, every shadow, every whisper. He did not need to sleep. He needed to protect her. The night before the confrontation, Liara and Ethan walked through the palace gardens. The glowing trees cast silver light across their path, and the air was unusually quiet. For the first time, Liara allowed herself to speak freely. "You have risked your life more than once for me," she said softly, And yet you do not ask for anything in return. Why? Ethan glanced at her, his face calm and earnest. Because it is the right thing to do, and because I believe in you. Liara stopped and looked at him, her golden eyes wide. Believe in me. I am not sure I even deserve it. No one in my court does. They see only the throne, the title, the future. They do not see me. I do, Ethan said simply. I see you. Not the princess, not the symbol. You are more than that, Liara. You are strong, smart, and capable. You are worth protecting, even if it kills me. Her breath caught. She had never heard such words before, not from nobles who sought her favor, not from generals who bowed to duty, only from him, the human, who dared speak freely to a princess of the Thalorian Empire. You are fearless, she whispered. Ethan smiled faintly. No, just honest. The next day, the confrontation began. House Vaynor had gathered their forces at the eastern gate, armed with stolen Thalorian weapons and aided by the raiders who had attacked the city. Their goal was clear: capture or kill the princess and seize power. Liara stood at the palace balcony, overlooking the approaching army. The city below stirred in fear. Civilians fled while loyal guards prepared for the attack. Ethan joined her, standing at her side. His hand rested lightly on the hilt of his weapon, though he did not draw it. He did not need to. His presence alone gave her courage. They are many, she said quietly. Cannot match them with numbers alone. Ethan met her gaze. Then we fight smart, not just hard, and we fight together. Liara's heart tightened. Together, the word carried a weight she could not yet define. But it made her chest swell with a strange warmth. The first wave of the enemy struck at dawn. Energy blasts lit up the sky, and the clash of weapons echoed through the city. Ethan moved with precision, shielding Liara from incoming fire and countering the attackers with skill honed over years of combat. He was relentless, his human stamina surprising even the Thalorian soldiers who fought alongside him. Liara watched, her mind racing. She had trained her entire life for command, yet she had never seen anyone fight with such raw determination. He moved not as a soldier following orders, but as someone who would not allow her to fall. When a raider managed to break through the line, charging directly at Liara, Ethan intercepted instantly. He took the strike to his chest, armor scorching, and sent the attacker flying with a powerful blow. The princess gasped, fear and admiration intertwining in her chest. You cannot keep doing this, she shouted over the din of battle. I can, Ethan replied, his voice steady despite the pain, because I will not let you die. Not today, not ever. The battle raged for hours. Liara commanded her troops with clarity and strength, but it was Ethan who became the pivot of hope. The soldiers saw him stand where others would fall, and they drew courage from his example. Slowly, the tide began to turn. By mid-afternoon, the traitors' forces were faltering. House Vaynor's leaders realized that they had underestimated the bond between the princess and the human soldier. Fear spread among their ranks. Finally, Ethan faced the leader of the raiders, a towering figure cloaked in dark armor, energy blades crackling at his side. Liara stepped forward, voice steady. Ethan, she whispered. He looked at her. Stay behind me. She hesitated, but the trust in her eyes was clear. Allowed him to take the front. The fight was brutal. Ethan moved with skill and speed, using every tactic he knew. His human endurance was unmatched. He dodged, parried, and struck with precision. The raider leader fell back, surprised by the tenacity of a human who should have been overpowered. Finally, with a decisive strike, Ethan disarmed the raider leader and forced him to kneel. The remaining traitors surrendered, seeing their defeat clear. The city below erupted in cheers. The princess had survived. The traitors had been defeated. But more than victory, something had changed. Liara stepped forward, her heart pounding. She could not hold back the words she had kept buried. Ethan. He looked at her, chest heaving, eyes filled with concern and exhaustion. What is it? She took a deep breath. I cannot imagine my life without you. You stand for me in ways no one ever has. You are not just a soldier. You are my strength. Ethan's chest tightened. He had protected many people, fought countless battles, yet no words had ever struck him like this. He stepped closer, his hand reaching for hers. "I will stand with you, Liara," he said softly. "Not as your soldier, not as your guard, but as your partner." In everything. Her eyes widened in shock. "Partner." "Yes," he said, voice steady and sure. "In life, in danger, in whatever comes next, I choose you, Liara. Will you choose me?" For a long moment she could not speak. The words echoed in her mind, disbelief warring with hope. Finally she whispered, "So you're taking me as your life partner?" He smiled, gentle and unwavering. "I am." Tears welled in her eyes, but she smiled too. For the first time, she felt unburdened. She was still a princess, still heir to an empire, but now she was also something more. She had chosen him, as he had chosen her. The council, witnessing the declaration, was shocked. Many Thalorians could not believe a human had been accepted as a partner by the princess. But they saw the courage in Ethan, the loyalty and bravery that had saved not only Liara, but the empire. Slowly, respect replaced doubt. That evening, the city celebrated. The people sang songs of survival and unity. Liara and Ethan stood together. On the palace balcony, the glow of the city reflecting their shared triumph. She leaned slightly against him, her head brushing his shoulder. "You truly are extraordinary," she whispered. "I only do what must be done," he replied, though his eyes reflected warmth and care, and for the first time Princess Liara felt the future stretching before her, not as a path of duty alone, but as a journey with someone who had chosen to walk it beside her. She did not yet know where it would lead. But she knew one thing with certainty: she would not face it alone. The bond forged in fire. Danger and courage had grown into something neither could ignore, and in the quiet moments of victory both realized that this bond would shape the fate of the empire in ways no battle or council could have imagined. Ethan had proven that humans could stand beside even the greatest of alien powers, and Liara had proven that a princess could follow her heart, even against centuries of tradition. Together, they were no longer just soldier and princess. They were partners, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them, side by side.